Welcome to Intuitive Art Sales. This is the show where I, Jessica Craddock, am going to teach you how to source your art marketing from within. You're going to practice claiming that authentic art business that you want and leading into the most natural way for you to get there. You're going to learn to get connected to your intuition, your confidence, and your community so that you can sell your art consistently while holding strong boundaries on your work-life balance. Welcome back to Intuitive Art Sales. I'm here with the lovely Lotte, and she is a German painter with a traditional education. And she is about 2 years into deciding that she wanted to make this a career and go for it full time. She's been an artist much longer than that, but at this point in her life, she is going for career artist, right? We worked together a little while ago. I think it was about a year ago. Does that sound right, Lotte?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nice to be here. I'm really glad to talk to you about all these special and interesting things. And there's a lot of things going on right now. Many projects I started and
Yeah. And I really want to dig in with you and see what is it that would give you the most value out of our conversation today? And really, in general, how can I help you create a plan to move forward in the direction you want to go? So you told me in your application that you want to start showing worldwide and working with galleries outside of Germany, grow your international network. Tell me some more. What does that look like in your mind? If we were, let's say, a year from now, and all of this stuff was happening, what would your day look like?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I would definitely block some days for just working in the studio, for not being busy with emails and calls and all this the important things, but that's always keeping me from being highly creative. So I would say I would love to travel a lot more. That gives me a lot of energy to visit new places and to get into the atmosphere of other cities. And I would like to have a good balance between traveling and like having exhibitions in other cities, other countries, and then also have like inner retreat moments where I say, okay, this week I'm just in the studio working nonstop on this project.
So kind of a time blocking type of schedule.
Yeah.
And maybe it's 1 week you are working in the studio and 1 week you're traveling and 1 week you're doing the most important stuff, or what, some version of that.
Yeah.
You said that you want to travel more, you want to have exhibitions in other cities and countries. If you could choose, if you could wave a magic wand and choose your top 3 cities, countries, do you know what those would be?
Oh, right now I'm really into Italy because I made some really interesting new connections, and I feel like that there's a vibe between my paintings and my art and kind of the Italian contemporary art scene that is much more into beauty than the German art scene. It's very conceptual and sometimes not that lush. It's head-based a lot of times. Not, of course, not everything, but like the tendency. And I see a lot of Italian galleries and artists that are share a vibe of tradition and beauty, but also of aesthetics, I think. So that would interest me a lot. And also going to the States. I mean, like New York would be a dream. I mean, that's like every artist has that dream, I think.
Well, I think it's funny when you are on the side of the world that you're on, New York is the dream. And when you're on the side of the world that I'm on, it's like Paris or Italy or something.
Yeah.
So it's all about where you're at.
Yeah, and Berlin is a thing also for a lot of people. So I'll be into New York, like Italy, maybe Milano, and I don't know, maybe Paris. I lived in Paris for half a year, and that's the city is so famous for art and artists and the tradition, and there's a lot of cliche, but there are also like interesting things going on. And beauty inspires me a lot. Beauty in architecture, in food, and lifestyles. That would be a thing.
Yes, that seems to be a fit. Okay, so we've got Italy, New York, and Paris.
Mm-hmm.
You said, I have connections already in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
What about New York and Paris? Well,
No.
you lived in Paris for a while, so I bet you
Yeah.
do. If you really sat down and thought about it, I bet you've got some connections there.
Yeah, I could make like call people from that time. It's like, I think 15 years ago I lived in Paris, so it's a long time ago, and people that were students that time now are like business people. I would have to dig a little, but then I would
Sure.
find things or people, connections. And yeah, New York would be something I have to start from scratch. If that's really my dream, I should talk to friends and people I know about it. And it's always the case that somebody says, oh, you know, I got that guy there.
Yes, ma'am. You
It's
know,
the
I don't
way,
even
yeah.
have to say it. You already know.
Yeah, no, I learned that from you, so I got it now.
I love that. Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to think, where might the gaps be between the life you are living right now
Mhm.
and what you just described to me? I don't want to project. I want to ask you, where do you feel like the gaps are? How is this not already happening?
I think I just didn't focus on that. It was really in the last months, because I did a lot of applications for exhibitions in in Germany and German cities. I talked to an art consultant she looked at my portfolio and at my website, and she was amazed about my works. But then she said, okay, but you know, German art scene is very conservative in the way that you have to be a full-time artist and you can never do anything else. Because in my vita, I wrote, is that the right word? Like where all my educations and where I had exhibitions, I wrote there that I had a studio for interior design. And she said, oh, they didn't pick you for that program or for that exhibition because they say, no, if she does something else, then she's not like a real artist.
Interesting.
That really pissed me off because that's a lie, because everybody's doing different projects. And I think more creativity is a win for everybody. And I just don't like the approach. And that was the point where I said to myself, I think this is maybe not the right place for me. I'm not matching with that vibe to see it so strict. And I think other places, they have bigger appreciation for creative people and the creative lifestyle, and you don't have to prove so much that you're like an seriously working artist. Of course you are, but you know what I mean. And
I do.
that was a few months ago, and so I think I just didn't reach out, or I did not call these people. I did not look on Instagram for galleries to follow or for other artists to start conversations. And I think that would be the way. I just relaunched my website. It's only in English now. Before it was in German and English, but the English version was very I didn't translate all the text. It was kind of minimal. And now I did a relaunch, and it's all worked out texts. So I think that was maybe an important thing, to have the website accessible from all over the world.
Yeah, it's very possible. It just depends kind of where your target market is. And I know that we have talked pretty extensively in the past about the German art market, and you have more experience with it than I do, but I feel like there's this balance of, part of it is a belief that you have that it's just not going to work out if I am in Germany, or if I'm trying in Germany. And part of that sounds like the beliefs aren't totally unfounded. There are some of the stigma that you just don't vibe with and don't want to be around. So it's kind of a combination. But with this idea that I could go into international galleries, that kind of wipes that clean. Do you believe that that's true? Or is there still some underlying, this might or might not work out for whatever reason? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Not quite. No.
So I guess what I'm saying is, I feel like there's this limiting belief here that's
Yeah.
holding you back a little bit.
Mm.
And I'm not saying it's completely untrue, but
Yeah.
if it wasn't there, you would be taking different actions than you are currently.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Well, I thought about that because we talked about it some months ago, and I tried to prove myself wrong with that belief. And I said, oh, maybe I just saw like the things that confirmed my point of view and did not see the other things. And I really pushed a lot, had a lot of applications and met a lot of people, and it was not working out the way it could have. And everybody I asked why they think it is, nobody knows. I think maybe it's the way that I reach out to like international network more, and then in Germany it will follow and like prove me wrong, but in the second step or something. I don't know what.
Sure.
Everything is kind of a mindset thing also. You're absolutely right. But in this special case, I don't really know where I should work on that more, because I really try to ignore that and really be open and connect and try. And so.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? I like to say, let's solve the first problem first. Mm-hmm. And if the dream is to not, be this huge name in Germany, then that's not really the problem that we have to solve.
No.
That can come later or not at all or whatever. So the problem is, how do I get into more exhibitions in other cities and countries? So I can have my studio days, I can have my traveling, I can have my important stuff. That's the problem that we need to solve.
Yeah.
So all of the things that we just talked about aside, what do you think Lotte, needs to change in order for you to get into an exhibition in Italy? So let's just start there.
I don't really know. I have the feeling that it's just the connections that are missing. I really worked a lot and improved everything I could imagine in my artist statements and how I organize myself, my website. I'm working on a new plan, how to post regularly and which channels to use, like Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And I think that's not the issue. I think it's really just these connections that need to be made.
Yeah, I agree. And you told me you have some. What do those look like?
I just met an art consultant from Italy, and he looked at my portfolio and he wants to write me back, and he was amazed. But you never know what's going on.
Sure.
And another gallerist from Torino, and she has my portfolio now also, and she was interested in special or in certain works, and I have to send new pictures to her. So it's starting.
Okay, good. So I have this process that I teach my clients. This is something that has been developed since you and I have worked together. It's basically a month where the focus is creating a repeatable process for the thing that you want. So you're telling me I just need the connections. The connections are the thing.
Yeah.
So, and you've already named a couple that you have started with and maybe are into like a following up phase. So how did you connect with those people? What was the thing that sparked a conversation between you guys?
The one I really met through Instagram, and they just wrote me. And the other one was like my parents met someone in their holidays and they told them that their daughter is an artist, and they talked about it, and then they gave my website address to her and she looked at it, and yeah. So that's hard to repeat.
Well,
And
that's okay.
the general theme is like spread it more, like mouth to mouth or something.
Every time I ask this question, people say, well, it's hard to repeat. This and this and this and this happened, and it was the special circumstance. Yes and no. Like, I'll agree with you that, yes, they were on vacation. It was your parents. They happened to meet this person. Yes, that's all special circumstances. But someone who believes in you talking about your work, AKA a referral, that's not really a special circumstance.
Yeah, that's true.
Something that you can start to cultivate. So we've got Instagram and we've got referrals. Anything else?
I don't know right now.
Okay, so of those two, and this isn't to say that you can't use more than one, but in order to find out what works, you really have to just keep going deep, deep, deep and experiment, and then change the experiment as you go. So of those two, which do you think is the most aligned with who you are and what you want to be doing?
The referring, like people that know my work or me, and they talk about it to someone they know. It's the best. Yeah,
that is the best. So if you were to guess, how many people do you have around you? We can call them ideal art buyers, we can call them whatever you like, who are your biggest cheerleaders, who, if someone said something about art, they're going to go, oh, I know this girl, she does blah, 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 blah.
Oh, like in numbers, you mean? That's hard.
I know it's hard without sitting down and really calculating it, but let's just play the guessing game for a minute.
Maybe 30?
30. That's a great number.
Yeah.
Okay, so your first homework assignment is to make a list of all those people. And then from there, we want to find the best way that we can encourage them to talk about you. One of my good friends, her name is Ivana. She runs a company called 12 Hearts Creative? Something very similar to that. I'll try to put it in the show notes. But essentially what she teaches is how to get people to refer you. And one of the things that is very simple that she shared with me is invite them to a phone call or a Zoom call or a coffee or a something, and have a conversation about what's going on in your life. Talk to them about what's going on in theirs, and then say something along the lines of, hey, Jen, I really want to support you. Is there anybody you need to know? Is there anyone that I can introduce you to? What are you looking for in your life? And hopefully they have something like I don't know, I want a PR agency. I want to start talking to somebody, and maybe you know somebody. Yeah. And even if you don't, you still are showing that you care about them and you want to support them. And in return, a lot of times they will say, well, can I return the favor? Do you need to know anybody? And if they don't, you can always just still ask, hey, I'm also looking for XYZ, something very specific. Do you know anybody like that you could introduce me to? So you already know these people are your cheerleaders, and you are cultivating them giving you referrals and introducing you to people. If you sat down with all 30 of those and you had a really specific ask, something along the lines of, I am looking to do an exhibition in either Italy, New York, or Paris. Do you know anyone in the art scene that you can connect me to? And maybe they do, and maybe they don't. I bet some of them do. And that gives you, I don't know, let's say 5 out of 30. You get 5 referrals, 5 new connections in these places where you don't have this cold connection with someone. You have a warm connection. Because someone they know introduced you to. And that makes it real easy to then say, well, let's you and I sit down and chat and see how we can help each other.
Yeah.
And you only need one exhibition in Italy to get 3 more.
Yeah, of course. It's always the starting that is so hard. Yeah.
The starting is the hardest, but if you create a system, what I just described, where it takes you out of your head of, I talked to 10 people and no one knew how to introduce me and nobody knew anybody, and it turns into that chatter
Yeah.
versus I'm going down my list and I
Yeah.
am doing the thing and I'm
Yeah.
going to get through all 30 no matter what happens. And at the
Yeah.
end, I can see what the results are. I can
Yeah.
see I got 10 new introductions. I got 3 shows. I got this. I got that. This is something that I did with one of my clients, and she got representation by a gallery. She made some connections with some other galleries, and I can't even remember all the things that happened, but she got a town mural. She got some connections with architecture firms and like all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
Just because she got out of her head and went down the list and stopped worrying what's going to happen. She reached out, and then a follow-up. Maybe there was one more follow-up in a different place or something. I can't remember exactly what we created together, but it was just about continuing and following through was the main point. How can I get these numbers a little bit better? So the referral thing, that is how you are feeding people in. That's just step 1, right? From there, what are you going to do after that? I don't know exactly. We would have to sit down and map it all out. But my first thing would be, or what I would probably recommend is, once you get that introduction, say, can you and I sit down? Because we've talked about this before, the stronger the connection, it's not going to be over text. Voice is a little bit better. Video is a little bit better. In person is the best. In person one-on-one is the very best. So the higher up the scale, the likely those are going to, I'm going to use the word convert, even though it sounds very unsexy, but the more conversions you're going to get into the thing that you're looking for.
Yeah. Usually it's so weird because I knew similar situations, and it's always the feeling before that it's almost like asking for a favor. But when you really ask people, or you just tell them your dream or what you're up to, then they're most of the time they're really happy to help, and they say, "Oh, let me think." And it's not something mean you ask of them to do, or so. It's more like, "Oh yeah, how can I help you?" It's the same if somebody asks me, "Hey, do you know, like, I don't know, like somebody who has a studio or where I can do a thing," or then I'm glad to help. So it's, yeah.
So the keys there are, they're already your cheerleaders. We could, if you exhaust all 30 and you want to keep going, we could go down that path. But we're going with the simplest way to execute right now. So you're already going with your cheerleaders, and they want to help you. And by you asking them something very specific where they can wrap their head around it, they're going to be more than happy to help you with that, because now they know how to help you. Before, let's say maybe it's a coworker who is, also trying to grow their art business, and they can't afford a $2,000 painting from you. They can't support you in that way, but they can support you in this other way. It's going to actually probably make them happy that you asked.
Yeah. Oh, that's a brilliant strategy. Yeah. Didn't think of
Usually
that
the
at
best
all.
strategies are the simplest. You just get all heady about it having to be this uber complicated thing. I have to have this perfect Instagram strategy, and that has to lead to this perfect landing page, which has to lead to this perfect email welcome sequence, which has to lead to, XYZ. And those are all great things, but they're strategies for really a little bit further down the line. I'm going back to your spreadsheet. What did you say your goal was? Your goal is 3,000 to 6,000 a month. So right now, if you're at 1,000, maybe that's something you implement when you get to like the $3,000 month, where it's more of a, okay, about max capacity. I'm spending 2 days a week making connections. I'm spending 2 days a week in my studio and maybe 1 day a week on the quote unquote important stuff. I think that's going to get you really close to where you want to be fairly quickly. And the other thing is, well, let's see, how much time do we have? We're running out of time. But I want you to decide. You very specifically said, I would have a day for this, a day for that, a day for that. I want you to go make that schedule. That's your second homework. And your third homework is look at your pricing. So if you get that exhibition in Italy and they take 50%, how likely is it that you can sell your $3,000 in that month?
Well, if it was only that, then it's,
Let's say it's only that, because that's where you're focusing your time.
yeah, of course, it's a good point to think about, because I think then I have to increase price again.
Where are you at right now?
I just did it. I have them, it depends on the size, of course, but I like the small ones, they're like around 1,000. Then the next one is like 160, 180, and the big ones are between 2,200 and 2,700 or something.
Okay, let's see, we got a 2,700, a 1,000, and a 1,800. Let's say you sold one of each. I'm going to embarrassingly pull out my phone and use my calculator because that is how I do it. So that is 4,600 divided by half is 23. So that's getting you there. I think since you just increased your prices, yes, it doesn't get you all the way there, but I really want you to cement these prices in. I believe I can sell this price and no problem. And if you sold one of each, what did I just say? 2,300, that's pretty darn close. You do that a couple of times, then it's time to increase your prices again.
Yeah, it's another standing I would have then. So that's
That's the thing.
That's reasonable. Yeah.
Prices are almost always going to have to go up because, or strategy is going to have to change because we always want more. We're human beings. If you get to $3,000 a month, you're going to be like, this is great. I would love 6. So then you've got to come up with either, more eyeballs coming in, or maybe a second stream of income, or increasing your price. Like there's multiple ways to increase your revenue every month, but for right now, that is not the problem to solve. That's not the number one problem.
Yeah.
The number one problem is getting into these exhibitions. So that's the first thing to solve. I just wanted you to kind of have an idea of where you were at with those numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was recently that I started having an account on Singular, this online gallery that is shipping worldwide. And there because they take in 50%, and I just said, okay, I got to change something.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that happened first.
Yeah. And so now it's nice because I can write on my website shipping worldwide, because they do it, and normally it's kind of a hassle to ship something foreign with it. And so that was a good thing. But I don't know how they are performing. I thought they were very busy and there was a lot going on, but I'm not so sure right now if this just...
Sometimes it takes time. So my husband makes steel logs that go on top of gas fireplaces. And last, I don't know, spring or so, he got his work into a place that ships all over the country and does a whole lot of business, we know, because he has different connections with different people. And he thought he was just going to blow everything up and we're going to make so many sales, and nothing happened. Then one order trickled in a while ago. And now one more trickled in. And then one other online retailer reached out and said, I saw you on such and such. We'd like to carry you too. Sometimes it's just this ripple effect that takes time. Sometimes it's just going to blow up. Sometimes it's, I'm going to layer. I'm going to have my exhibitions. I'm going to have this online gallery representing me. And maybe I end up with another gallery that is showing more of my big work. And then on top of that, you know, like layer, but you can only add one layer at a time, or it gets to be way too overwhelming. But you're on the right track.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's frustrating and it takes longer than you think you should.
Yeah. But maybe it's for a reason. You
Usually-
never know.
Yes. Usually, if that's happening, you are building this really strong foundation. That means it can just work really easily later.
Yeah.
Truly. That's how it works.
Yeah.
What is that saying? I can't remember exactly, but something like, you're an overnight success after 10 years of hard work. Like, that's kind of how it works. Everybody thinks you were an overnight success, but really you worked behind the scenes for however long.
Yeah, and sometimes there's steps that has to be made because something is really working or can work. I don't know. And sometimes it doesn't seem related, but then it turns out that it was super important to do, like, write a new artist statement before you reach out to XYZ or something. It's when you look to the past and you see what was happening at what time, then a lot of things make sense, I think. Yeah.
It's so much easier to look backwards.
Yeah, to look backwards. Yeah.
Which is why I love looking backwards to see, okay, what worked? What happened here? What did this look like? What were those steps of progression? What happened exactly? Because looking backwards, I have a whole other training on looking backwards. But looking backwards is the best way to go forwards quickly.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Lotte, it was so lovely having you. I think we gotta wrap it up, but tell people where they can find you.
Well, on Instagram, it's Lotte.Hauss it's Instagram, and then it's my website. It's www.lottehauss.de. Well, you write it in the show notes. I'm bad at spelling in English. You can't.
That's okay. LOTTE.HAUSS on Instagram. Is that correct?
Yeah, with a dot in the middle. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And then the website is, and I always say Lotte. I know that's incorrect. You say it again for me. I can't.
That's fine. Lotte.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Lotte Hauss at .de is her website.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. We will put those in the show notes so people can find you and your beautiful work. And it was so lovely having you. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm doing my homeworks.
Good. I'm gonna check in on you. Make sure you're good.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Bye, lady.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you haven't yet, be sure to hit subscribe so that you can get new episodes loaded straight onto your phone as soon as they're ready. And if you're one of those people who wants all the things, be sure that I get your email so that I can send you invitations to free classes, send advice your way, and share details about how you can go deeper with me. Just click on the show notes to sign up.